Hey, how's it going? In this video, I want to talk about a couple of important key things to remember, to focus on, to hang on to during your rehab journey. Hey, I'm Meg, and I'm documenting my rehab journey. I'm dealing with anterior pelvic tilt, chronic low back pain, chronic pain all over. Blah, 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 blah. I'm here doing my stretch out, my roll out, as I call it. There's so many things that get in the way of you getting better. There's so many nuances about the human body, and then there's so many nuances with your body, with my body, with that body. Like, there's so many things that kind of get in the way, like how heavy are you, how light are you, what's your job, what's your daily daily work patterns, even like emotional stressors that get in the way of you actually having the capacity to even think about getting better. Like, there's so much stuff that gets in the way of somebody really rehabilitating an injury. When you see professional athletes and then when they get injured, they can really come back very quickly because like that's their job, right? That's like their thing. They have a team of people to help them get better. And it sucks when regular people like you and I get injured because, for one thing, it's expensive. We probably don't have money just like lying around to go to a physical therapist who's going to personally one-on-one time with you. And then even finding the right physical therapist who will actually take the time and ask you intuitive questions. Will actually be like, okay, this hurts. That means let's test this, this, and this. I think the most important thing with all of these little nuances that you have to go through, you have to experiment, you have to give yourself the time to go through those things. At least with accepting that, you can at least see the road ahead of you, because it's really debilitating. It makes you want to give up if you can't see even the step in front of you. You know, if you could just see a couple steps in front of you, like say when you really injure something, none of your little tricks are working, everybody's advice is not working for you, is to just know like, hey, my tissue's just inflamed right now. I'm gonna just ice it, I'm gonna rest, and in a couple days I'm gonna be okay. Another thing to kind of remember is to keep moving. And I remember hearing this from a channel called Upright Health. This guy, it sounds like his symptoms were a lot worse than mine. And I was like, well, if he can do it, maybe it's possible for me. And I wanted to push that message along here on my little channel, because it's like, yeah, you need to hear that. Like, you need to hear that, hey, even though you've been through so much crap, you're gonna be okay and you can make it. Like, you can come out of the other side, as long as, right, as long as you put in the work, you commit to becoming better, you commit to seeing a future where you are doing active things again, you are living the lifestyle that you really want, you're not settling for it. I was like, cool, we got our house, we are building businesses, I'm happy with that, but my back hurts. I think it's really important to pass that message along, is that, hey, you can come a long way. I'm not going to settle for half of my goals. I'm going to do whatever it takes to make all of them come true. And it really is a mental game. You know, besides all the physical pain that you have to go through in order to rehab, there was quite a bit of pain that I had to endure in the first month and a half of my program, right? We're at day 60. That's like 2 months. So for the first month and a half, it was a lot of, am I doing this right? I get critically injured over here. Oh, this seems to be working. You know, so there's a lot of like back and forth with your body and getting really well acquainted with what works and what doesn't, and then just making adjustments along the way. And then having a good support team, you know, like having somebody who can check your form, be intuitive about your healing, be intuitive about your specific injury. A lot of people would tell me, because of my low back pain, which I didn't know was stemming from all these other things like anterior pelvic tilt, shifted hips, rotated hips, all this kind of problems with your hips, I just felt pain in my back. I just felt a knife in my back all the time. Being able to find out specifically what is wrong, and they can recommend a treatment and a strengthening program for you that's specific to you, and that who can make adjustments with you and not just blanket treatment all of your symptoms. Another tip is to get multiple mentors, multiple people to look at your condition, right? I YouTubed everything. Once I found out it was an issue with my hips, and doing a couple tests, those were really helpful. I've watched them all. If they had good audio and they were explaining things that I could understand, I've watched it all on YouTube. That way I could do my own research and try and test and all of that stuff. I literally do not trust any doctors anymore. Finding somebody who can speak to you, finding somebody who you're comfortable with, that you can be honest with, you know, that they won't judge you for not doing all of the things that they ask you to do. Like, just being intuitive and sensitive to the fact that you are in an injured state and you're doing what you can. Progress, not perfection. We all get comfortable complaining because it's easier. It's easier than to actually do the work. It's easier to listen to a YouTube video but not diving in deeper and reading for yourself and looking at the research and trying things out for yourself. It's easier. So I'm going to encourage you to, whatever it is that you're trying to fix in your rehab journey, get obsessed with it. Get obsessed with getting better. Like, there's no better way to put it. Just be all about it in the way that you move, in the way that you work, in the way that you talk, in the way that you think. Should all be about getting better. Should all be about getting stronger. Should all be about knowledge, progression, enlightenment. Should be about that and not wallowing in your own pity. I know that that's easy, and it almost feels good to do that sometimes because it's a distraction from your pain. It's a distraction from the work that you have to do. It's a socially acceptable excuse to tell people that you're in pain and you can't do it. Socially acceptable. No one's really not going to judge you too harshly. Nobody's going to keep you really accountable because you're injured. But what happens when you've been injured for 10 years? You've been injured mentally, emotionally, and physically for 10 plus years or whatever. I was making my way there. I was on year 6, you know what I'm saying? Unless you want to live in that spiral, it starts with one tiny little action in the other direction, and then another tiny little action in that same direction, right? That's all it is. That's all it is. I feel physically stronger. I can feel it in my legs. They aren't as pudgy anymore. The hips sit very neutral now when I stand, as long as I'm not bearing any weight. So that's a great start. So at 0, I'm at 0. I'm not at -20. The next steps for me on my journey are to correct what's going on when I bend over, because that's when I get the most injury. Bearing weight when I bend over, so picking things up off the ground and setting things down. Overall, just continue with the program. Documenting it daily. I hope you enjoyed that video. It was a little just raw talk. I hope for you that some of these little words that kind of seep into your brain and make things click for you, whether it's today or a few weeks from now or years from now, because that's what happened to me. I listened to other people who've gone through similar situations, which is not a lot. I would hear the video once and be like, okay, so you're telling me there's a chance. And then I would hear it again. I would listen again. I'd hit play again. A couple weeks later, still on my journey, still in pain, and something else would click for me. Suddenly I would hit a breakthrough and I'd be like, oh my God, you're so right. So keep going. Do not let go of your goals. Keep refining them, writing things down. Just keep tweaking and making adjustments and experimenting, and knowing that as long as I stick with this, as long as I'm focused on my goal, I will get there. Check the link in the description for some of the channels that I recommend you watch if you have anterior pelvic tilt. I think that are the most effective and that relate to the journey part of it, the mentality part of it. I'll put that in the description, okay? Because I think that's just as important as the physical things that you're doing. So, good things. See you next time.